We are Pisgah Legal Services, a nonprofit law firm that serves extremely low-income people in Western North Carolina. We believe that everyone deserves access to justice.
In the criminal law, if you're charged with a crime under our Constitution, a lawyer will be appointed for you. In the civil law, we don't have such a right in this country. Many of the Western democracies, you do have a right to an attorney in a civil case if your home is threatened or if you're a victim of abuse or if you may lose your income. But in the United States, that falls to nonprofits like Pisgah Legal Services to handle.
Each year, attorneys at Pisgah Legal Services help more than 15,000 people in crisis, including seniors who are being victimized by scam artists, moms who are trying to escape domestic violence and take their children with them, individuals who are coping with disabilities, immigrants who are terrified of being separated from their loved ones, and families who are on the verge of homelessness. Our clients are some of the most vulnerable people in our mountains. Often they can't afford basic necessities, much less an attorney. There are legal solutions for many of their problems, but when trying to navigate a complicated justice system alone, their chances of success are slim to none. Like Mildred, who was the victim of a mortgage scam. She needed Pisgah Legal Services attorney Tom Gallagher's help to save her home.
When Mildred first came to us, she was behind on her mortgage payments, and the reason she was behind is because she had worked with this lady down in Florida who took her money but didn't do anything for her.
She told me not to call nobody, don't pay nobody, don't pay no bills, credit cards or nothing. And it just started piling up.
It took us the better part of 3 years to get from a place where it was absolutely unsustainable, she was going to be losing her house, to a point where she could almost hold on, but just by the skin of her teeth, and then to a point where she is now able to survive and thrive.
Imagine surviving years of crushing domestic violence and the courage it takes to face your abuser in court. Pisgah Legal Services was there to help Caroline.
Julia and the DA came to me and said, "Do you want to come in and listen to the judge give him his, sentence?" And I said, "Sure." So I went in there and his face was redder than a fire engine. He cut his eyes at me and it was almost like I was looking at the devil. His body language, and they handcuffed him and they sat him down. But at that moment, my heart felt so much peace. It was like, look, I stood up for my girls, for myself. Now I'm not playing your games. You can't control us, period. That we don't have to live that way, and we won't, and certainly won't tolerate any behavior in between, And he knew that in that moment. I believe it's when he realized he could no longer have that control over me. So I don't want people who are in domestic violence relationships to think that they're stuck and that there's no hope. And that's the life that they're stuck with, because it's not. And once you're free from it and you start to live and all these new opportunities come, your heart just opens up and it's so filled with joy and peace and a love that you haven't felt in so many years that it's amazing.
Pisgah Legal Services now has 5 offices throughout the mountain region with dedicated employees, 20 staff attorneys, and approximately 300 volunteer attorneys who work pro bono to help people in need. Volunteer attorney Perrin De Jong takes cases pro bono for Pisgah Legal Services. He helped Tammy and her son, who were being unfairly evicted from their home.
I grew up in poverty, and I've lived most of my life on working class wages, and I'm intimately familiar with the problems of poverty as a result. And I'm very acutely aware of the problems with people who prey on the poor, irresponsible landlords, shady debt collectors, and the list goes on, but I know what it feels like to be in that position of being so economically vulnerable and being at the end of your rope. and not knowing where the next one's coming from. And I know how scary it is to not understand the legal landscape that you're operating in.
He was very caring. And we kept saying, well, he'd say, well, you know, we can continue this. And we'd say, but, you know, we don't want you to lose money. And he'd say, don't worry about it. He said, don't worry about my money. And he was just, don't worry about me, just worry about, you know, let's worry about you. We were very grateful that we weren't put out, because of him and Pisgah Legal, we weren't put out on the street.
Pisgah Legal provides direct services to clients and also advocates for social policies that benefit everyone, like health care, safe and stable housing, and affordable quality childcare.
I went to law school because I wanted to do legal services and help people who were in crisis, and specifically to help people who were in crisis related to their homes. And I'm really lucky to have ended up at a place like Pisgah Legal Services, where I'm able to do that for clients who wouldn't be able to afford those services on their own. The vast majority of our clients just wouldn't have legal representation if it weren't for Pisgah Legal Services. And the only reason that Pisgah Legal Services is able to exist and do the work that we do is because of the donors who support us in our community. So I'm incredibly grateful to the people who support Pisgah Legal Services and make that work possible for us.
Pisgah Legal Services is committed to providing access to justice. We need your help to fight for justice for those with nowhere else to turn. Please make a gift today.